Hello, everyone. It's Saturday afternoon again, 1 o'clock here in Florida. Also up there in Indiana, where Mr. Hudson is.
Yes.
What is it? 11 o'clock out there with you, Jerry? And,
That's correcto.
And 1 o'clock also in Arizona, isn't it, Jay?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, so you're on Pacific time then. Okay.
Mountain Standard Time.
Okay. All right. So again, Saturday afternoon, welcome aboard. Going to talk about training today. Before we get into that topic of training, there is something new out there called the General Data Protection Regulation. It looks like it's for the European Union. Am I correct in saying and stating that it's the EU that this is more applicable to, and here in the United States?
That's what I understand it to be. So
Yeah.
But it sounded to me like you have to be, as if you are marketing to anybody in the EU, you have to follow that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, Mr. Hudson, I took that also
Yes.
as a meaning. Even though we're here in the United States, will we be doing business from people in the EU? Most likely,
Yes.
hopefully,
yeah. Because when we look at our tier 1 traffic, UK is one of those, isn't it? In that tier 1 traffic definition. Australia, okay? Now, Australia is not the EU.
Oh, they're not in the EU? Okay.
Yeah, but UK is. And so the possibility of doing business with someone from the UK is great.
Very likely.
Yeah. So therefore, we would have to be in compliance with this General Data Protection Regulation. Yeah. Because we never know who from the UK is going to come in and opt in or see our web pages. So if you haven't read about this, it would really be in your best interest to read about it and see what the compliance steps are for you with regard to your opt-in forms, etc. What to do and what not to do. Kevin lays it pretty well out in the form there at Royalty Funnels. So, I've read through it, and it's like, wow, really have to be careful here. You gotta be on your toes with this one. The do's, the don'ts, and the why are you doing this. You gotta be on your toes with that. There's a plugin, if you haven't gone into Royalty Funnels and looked at the plugin is out there on the left-hand side menu. And then you have, let me go over to, if you guys haven't logged into your Royalty Funnels, Jerry, you're Royalty Funnels, aren't you?
yes.
Yeah, and Jay, I know you are.
Yeah.
Ron, you are also.
No.
You're not? Okay.
No, I'm PLS. So.
PLS? Okay. I don't know what the issue is with PLS as with regard to this new regulation.
Right.
But
most of them are instituting some kind of policy. So.
Okay. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Let me get over here to, then I'll share my screen. Righty here. Let me go ahead and pull this Because this could be a deal breaker. Because guess what? There are going to be, hey, Oslop, there are going to be people that read about this regulation. Oslop, we're talking about the General Protection Data Regulation, the EU. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah, reading about it.
Now, think about this for a second. There are going to be people who read about this regulation and take it completely out of context,
Always.
right? Completely. They're going to read things into it that's not there. It's like the monster in the closet. It's just in your imagination. There's really no monster in the closet. But people are going to interpret it the way that they want to interpret it. And when they come to your website, to your opt-in form, let's say, they're going to bring their interpretation of that regulation with them. And they're going to find something. They may even file a complaint against you. Then there's something that you have to deal with. So it's in our best interest to know what that regulation is all about, to know exactly what it means. Laws and regulations, they mean what they say and say what they mean. Really, we don't have to open it up for our interpretation, do we? Any law or regulation. If it's 45 miles an hour, it's 45 miles an hour. If it's don't park here, parking for the blue parking areas. If you don't have the sign to hang in your window, you don't park there. Laws, regulations, they mean what they say and they say what they mean. Interpretation really gets things messed up. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Okay, can you guys see my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, here is the plugin right here. This is in Royalty Funnels. I see Renee. Hey, Renee. Can you hear me, Renee?
I can.
Okay, we're talking about this General Data Protection Regulation.
Okay,
Okay, before we get into the training.
sure, that's fine.
Okay, for Royalty Funnels, here it is right here. And you go through, and each one of these items here, you have to do something in there. Okay, like terms and conditions. You have to go in and set it all up, things along that line. So it's going to take some work on your part to get everything squared away. There is a website that goes through and talks about each one of these pages here that you see within the ultimate GDPR, like cookies, cookie consent. Again, you have to come in and fill this stuff in here. Okay? All of this. Take a look at all of this stuff here. Here is the sort of like manual. It's a website that's set up specifically for the GDPR. And it takes you through each section here. You see the menus over here. It takes you through each section and explains each section to you that you see in the plugin, which is back here. So I have cookie consent settings. I'll go over to the manual and then cookie consent. And then it'll take me to that section there. So I'm going to drop this URL inside of the chat. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Chat. Okay, I just dropped it into the chat box. If you guys want to go take a look at that, your leisure. Now, Renee, we were discussing before you came on, this regulation is really for the European Union. It's who it's for. Which,
Okay.
in essence, excludes us from the United States, right? But,
Right.
but will we be doing business with anyone in the European Union?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We already do.
Already do. Okay. So therefore, we have to be compliant, even though we're here in the United States.
It makes sense.
Yeah, still have to be compliant.
Yep.
Because, and then I brought up what type of traffic do we buy? We buy tier 1 traffic. Tier 1 traffic includes the UK.
Okay. It sure does.
So therefore, this applies to us. It applies to us. Asla,
Yeah.
it's going to apply to you.
Yeah. I'm not in the EU, but we have a partner deal who are, it's almost like being a member. In the EU. So I have to go through all these things.
Now, the drop dead date for being in compliance is May 25th. That's just a little under a week from now. Okay.
Yep.
Over the next week, you'll have to do something. Are they going to come? And it's like Kevin said in his documentation back in the forum on royalty funnels, they're not going to come kicking your door in if you don't comply. But again, Renee, we were talking about there are going to be some people out there that interpret this regulation the way they want to. And if they come to your website and they don't see that, hey, Renee is not in compliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You may be, but their interpretation tells
Their interpretation, right.
says that you're not. Okay?
So, and again, this might have been answered in the forum that I didn't get a chance to look at yet, but is this just for websites or is this for sales pages as well? And like lead capture, I'm assuming a lead capture page, but I'm not sure about a sales page.
Yeah. The way I understand it, and I'll have to go back and read it again, the way I understand it is an opt-in form. Now, if you have an opt-in form on a sales page, yeah, then, then
Gotcha. Okay.
Then it would apply. So, and Kevin goes through and he does a real good job of showing you what you don't have to do and what you do have.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to see that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and again, for those with PLS, it's like, I don't know, what they're doing with that, but
I'm sure they have their system, and I'm sure, in other systems they're going to have, they have to be in compliance.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make sure that they supply that information to their members on how to do it.
I would say any service that allows you to build sales funnels and part of your sales funnel being your opt-in form would be all on top of this and letting their customers know, hey, here's a new thing that we have to be aware of out there, okay? Because it's going to affect across the board.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Across the board, regardless of what system you're using.
I've already noticed it. I've already gotten emails, like I got an email about Meetup they had to do it. So like everybody has to do it. So it's just one of those things that has to be done.
It has to be done. Hey, David, how are you?
Good, good.
Yeah, we're talking about the General Protection Data Regulation. I don't know if you're familiar with it. We're talking about that.
Yep, the whole of Europe has to be familiar with it. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you're not, you're in trouble, right?
You're in trouble. You don't want to set yourself up for people complaining that you're not in compliance. And David, we were talking about some people are going to interpret this regulation in totally out of context. Totally out of context. And you know, when they come and look at your page, hey, David's out of compliance. No, David's in compliance. It's just your interpretation says that he's out of compliance. So yeah, something that I wanted to address right at the beginning of today's meeting, because this is something that you'll seriously need to take a look at and implement.
And I'm almost wondering if we should have this as a separate call, like, you know, finish this up and then start another one and talk about our other stuff. Just because this information itself is important for people to have that and understand and know where to get some assistance, I guess, and kind of where to turn. I don't know. I'm just throwing that thought out there as an idea, just because I'm thinking we probably want to have a separate video. And again, I missed the total beginning, and I apologize for getting in late, but it's just something that, you know, yes, it's part of training, but it really isn't. This is like a totally separate subject that, you know, we do have to train people on, but this subject in and of itself is one of its own.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how anyone else feels about that, and you know, we could definitely talk about it. And see.
Yeah, it's definitely something to discuss, especially as we get more familiar with what this regulation is. I'm pretty sure there's lots of information out there about the regulation. Some of it probably not correct, and a whole lot of it probably correct. So it's definitely something to be researched. Definitely. Because it's so impactful to our businesses. We're talking about.
If you want some more information about it, maybe on this call I can, because at the end of the day, even like for my job, we had to do everything already a month ago in compliance. So if you guys want to know a little bit more information, because we've been dealing with things already for a month regarding this, I can sum it up in short, let's say.
Absolutely, that would be very valuable, David. I would appreciate that. I personally would appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So what happens if, you know, we're using our royalty funnels and we go in and we set all that up for the GDPR, and somebody opts into one of our pages and their issue is, well, how do I know for sure that he's compliant? How will they know? I mean, is there a way to determine that?
Well, firstly, they are asking any of the autoresponders actually have to be compliant with it. So it doesn't matter really what marketing system you're using.
Correct.
But more the autoresponder what you have.
Okay.
And it is more than that, it is also for individuals, guys. It's not for companies. So if, for example, if an individual reaches out to you and says, hey, can you take my email or my data out of your system, you need to comply and do it or change it. But if a company reaches out to you, you're not obligated to do that. So I'm just saying, if you might find different kinds of emails that come in your system and stuff like that, there's a difference between if it's a company reaching out or, let's say, an organization and an individual. So it's more for an individual and data protection for an individual. So when they reach out to you, you are obligated basically to change, edit, or remove. These are the main things.
So now, David, is that Is that specifically for royalty funnels, but does it also cover Aweber?
Aweber is already compliant with it. They've already started doing it. I think almost a month ago, if I'm not mistaken, they sent out an email. So they are already compliant with it. But each and every company has to get compliant with GDPR before they go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, like David says, either change it, my data, get rid of my data. What data do we collect? We're not these big data collection agencies like Facebook and Twitter, things like that. Mainly what we collect from people, email addresses and names.
Sometimes phone.
And sometimes a phone number, okay? If you have a form for people to fill out, you're collecting data, okay? Now, if a person says, hey, I don't want you to have my data anymore, you have to get rid of it. You have to get rid of it. When people unsubscribe from your email list, you know what I do when someone unsubscribes from my email list? I go in and I delete them completely.
Yep.
I don't even leave it there.
Yep. You have to.
Yeah, you have
That's always been a general rule, even like when I first started. When they unsubscribe, they're deleted.
They're deleted. Now, if they want to come back and subscribe later on, that's fine. But hey, that account that they just unsubscribed from, it's gone. I don't even keep it on my list. It's gone. And under this new regulation, it also says that if a person asks or makes a statement that, hey, I never subscribed to that, you need to show proof that they did. Prove that they did. How many times have you gotten an email back from someone saying, hey, I never subscribed to your list? And it's like, yes, you have. You
Yes, you did.
on this date and time.
Does that mean that you have to use double opt-in then, so the Aweber or get response?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Okay. That they don't even address, as far as I can see, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't even address the double opt-in scenario in this regulation. All they do, Aslak, is like, you need to provide proof that this person actually did subscribe to your email list.
And we have, like, if we're using Aweber, we have that.
Yes.
Like, if someone unsubscribes, we'll get, well, I think so.
And unsubscribe, you'll see when they
unsubscribe. So you can actually take a screenshot and say, here's the day. You can see, here's the day you subscribed. So
yeah, you'll see the date and time they unsubscribed. You'll see the date and time that they also subscribed. Okay, and under Aweber, it'll tell you where they subscribed from.
And the IP. Is there too.
They came in through your form. It'll tell you that. Okay, that's why it's you need to be careful about manually going in and adding people to your list.
Correct.
Yeah.
A long time ago, people would ask me to do that for them, and I would just do it because they asked me to do that. I don't do that. And even before this whole regulation came about, I'm like, you need to subscribe. I would just rather, because first of all, then I get to see where their IP address is. So if they say they live in, California, and I see something from Ireland, I'm like, what happened? Like, are you really who you say you are?
Yeah.
That's happened actually. I actually had someone say they lived in Belgium. And I went, and this was just by a fluke. He subscribed to my list. He said he lived in Belgium, and we were talking on Facebook, and he subscribed to my list, and I saw the IP address was Nigeria. I'm like, I caught him in the act of saying he was somebody else and pretending he had someone else's picture too. And I realized that afterward, and when I like looked into it more. So yeah, I just tell people you have to subscribe, and I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, no, I don't do manual ads either, because now you set yourself up for an issue that really could have been avoided.
Yep.
Like Renee said, no, let's go through the form. Did you have something, David?
Yeah, the only thing what I did when I found out about this rule is I went back and looked at all my landing pages, because there is something interesting that it says here in the regulation, basically, which is you need to provide what the person is going to get. So you're telling before the person even asks you for information, subscribes, whatever, you have to tell them what they're going to get. Now, that doesn't mean you have to tell them exactly what they're going to get. You can just say, hey, you will receive emails from me, or within, when you have usually a simple landing page, you have a headline. So you have your title, and just below that, you have a smaller font.
Yeah.
Then you can just add, you will receive emails, or when you submit your email address, you will get XYZ. You don't need to specifically say, so it's not driving people away from as a marketing tactic, it doesn't drive people away. But you need to go back and at least announce it. So that when they do put their email address, they received an email. They said yes to it. So that is the only thing that I would say connect to us as marketers and using marketing systems. Other than that, Aweber obviously suggests a double opt-in as a confirmation, etc. But that's up to you, honestly. That's not obligatory, but it would be good to mention. So I just went back, for example, I changed a bit of my text, and just to comply with that and know that I am getting the information and I can provide them with a set of emails after that. And another suggestion would be to put either somewhere in your email, either in the top or the bottom. I think Renee might have spoken about this in other Zooms as well. If they're unhappy or if they want to subscribe, click the unsubscribe button. That's it. Just always put that in each and every email, so that.
Yeah. And I used to do that a long time ago, and then I stopped. It's something to reconsider putting in there now, just to be more compliant. And those are good points that you brought up, David, about saying on the form what they're going to get. Because if you just say a simple, like you said, a simple thing, you will be receiving email follow-ups from me, there it is. You don't have to say what they're, you don't have to go into detail about that, but at least you've said that.
And we have, at least in royalty funnels, you have these hybrid templates.
Yes.
Where you have the opt-in form, and you can do what you want under, and you can have this is what you get after you sign up, and 1, 2, 3, 4 emails, anything like that. That should be enough.
And I think they do that in OSP too, right, David? Do they have that?
Not specifically, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. It's just, if your first page, for example, for your funnel is clean and completely dependent on what you want to say, that's fine. As long as before they're inserting the information, we have to say what they're going to get. So for example, most even companies now, everyone is changing and saying that they will get newsletters.
Correct.
Well, they were never telling them that they would get newsletters. But now they have to say it. So when they put their email address in, they know that they're going to get a newsletter. So.
Yeah. And that's essentially, this is causing you to be upfront with people, about what they will be getting from you. Now, a lot of us probably don't put our terms and privacy, terms and conditions, et cetera, on, links to that on our opt-in forms, on our sales pages. This is probably a best practice now. Okay.
It's actually a good idea. I'm actually glad in a way. It forces us to be better marketers, and it forces us to be more upfront. Like, not knowingly, but we don't always know what we don't know. So like it forces you to really think about what you're putting on there. And I think you're going to get less, and I think the reason why they probably came out with this, one of them, is that you're going to get less and less of those incompliant notes or the complaints and stuff like that, because of the fact that you are being upfront about it, and it does force you to be a best practices marketer and put that privacy statement in, that disclaimer, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, as for your emails that you're going to be sending out to people that come up on your email list, another best practice is to have a little disclaimer. I know in Aweber we can go into our list settings and type in a disclaimer, part of our signature, so to speak.
Yep.
And hey, here's how you can unsubscribe, blah 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 blah. Just a little short blurb that goes out every single email.
Yep.
Every single one. So when a person says, hey, I don't want these emails anymore, it's like, hey man, here's how easy it is not to get them. Here's how easy it is right here. And something short as to terms, policies, however you want to do that. And use the facilities now that are there, like in Aweber, to help you stay in compliance with this. So when I first read about this, Renee, I was like, whoa, man, that sounds like a lot to do. But then the more I thought about it, it's like, it's really not. Some of the stuff you're doing already anyway. And it's like David said, hey, I got to go back into my opt-in form and redo things in my opt-in form and be more upfront with the information, things along that line. It's easy to get into compliance. Yep. And once you get in compliance, it's easy to stay in compliance.
Correct. I agree.
I think it keeps us as marketers much more, I wouldn't say only ethical, but it changes the whole business and the way we're working, and actually has good practices, as Renee was saying. It forces us to have good practices. So in my opinion, the change is really good, very, very important to have.
I agree.
For obviously the people who are getting information from us, but even for us to be, literally filter. Imagine, okay, we might get less email, less opt-ins or whatever, but they're quality leads.
Yes.
And for me, that's more valuable than having 10,000 leads and 5,000 of them actually worth it, right?
Right.
It just filters things out. So the practices in itself by the regulation is helping us, I think, in the long term for our business. So you need to weigh the odds, I think.
Totally true. And when I actually read what this was about, I was like, wow, this is good. In my mind, I was like, this is good for the industry in so many ways. It's good for the person getting the information, and it's good for the person giving the information. So like, there's nothing to be like, mad about. This is actually a good thing, because I think it protects everybody. It protects you as a marketer more, and it protects the person who's potentially getting the information.
Now, for those out there that marketed under shady practices to begin with, this is going to be something that probably has them shaking in their boots. I have to be honest now. So, but for those who look at our business, and we look at our businesses from a high ethical viewpoint, then there's nothing wrong with this whatsoever. Like David said, hey, this has probably been in the works for a month, and I'm pretty sure there's all kinds of different information out there about this. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people have looked at this and done the scaremongering thing. Oh man, if you're not in compliance, man, they're going to come close you down, and they're going to fine you heavily. And that's not so. It's not so. if you want to continue to do business and you want to continue to do business outside of the compliance features of this, you're welcome to do so. Yeah, you're welcome to do so. But, you know, the consequences are the consequences something that you even want to address? No, I don't even want to address it. I just want to stay and keep my business compliant and moving forward. And like you said, Renee, we've always done things that that helped us to be compliant from an ethical standpoint anyway.
Yep.
So
For me, it's just a matter of a few more things
yeah,
to put on my form.
yeah.
You know, because like you said, I've already been doing most of it, so it's just a matter of doing it in the structure and doing it just with a few more things. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I just think this regulation is just taking what we've always done and just taking it up a notch. Okay, and allowing us, giving us the opportunity to, as we said before, to be more upfront.
Yeah.
Be more upfront. There's nothing wrong with doing this. Nothing wrong with bringing this in whatsoever. And it like you said, Renee, it protects me and it protects protects my customer and people, you know, coming and looking at in my business and opting in, because a lot of times you do run into stuff. It's like, what am I opting in for?
Yeah.
I'm not understanding what it is I'm going to be getting here. Yeah. And then when you get in, it's like, whoa, that's more than I bargained for.
Yeah.
Or it's not something that I'm looking for. So this is great.
So it will affect the ad copy on the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can see. You can't write farmer grow from 0 to 1 million.
Yeah.
Can't make those claims.
Click here to become a millionaire now.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the things that Kevin put on his page when he wrote about this in the forum, one of the bullet points he made, and I'll read it verbatim here, is update your opt-in forms and lead generation landing pages to reframe your offer and make sure your visitors can clearly anticipate what's going to happen after they sign up. That just makes sense. Just makes sense. Like you said, Oslak, my offer saying that, hey man, you're going to make $60 kajillion in the next 5 years. I mean, that's just, it's nonsense, really, when you think about it. And it's misleading, and it's really not ethical when you think about it.
Yep.
And so many people jump into an offer based on something like that, something they read like that. So this regulation is like, no, we can't do that anymore. And Facebook's been doing this with your Facebook ads for a long time anyway. You can't be making those kinds of statements in your Facebook ads because of the misleading nature of that. So
I've always been against unlawful enticement. This makes me freaking irritated when I see landing pages like that. So I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here, so I'm not really sure what we're talking about. But I think that maybe this is a good place to kind of outline what we should have besides a headline and a captive and the type of headline now, since we are talking about staying in regulation. I believe that you don't have to use money exactly, like these. Before I've read that you don't want to use like even numbers like $500 or something like that. Then it went to no. When I read don't even mention the amount of money. Then I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I felt that again, if you're using facts, that people are more drawn to jumping in. And but over the years of doing this, I see why that could be misleading as far as that, because we are emotional creatures and we make our decisions basically on that. And and knowing what I know as far as when I see somebody successful and really getting to know that person and understanding what it took for that person to make it, just doesn't, that simplicity of those headlines that make it sound so simple, just isn't doing any good for the person that's jumping on. So, but I'm totally, besides the headline now, what do we have to include? I always included the disclaimer on the bottom of mine, capture pages or landing pages, whatever you want to call it. But not, you have to really look to see it. You have to scroll all the way down to really see it. But I've always included that disclaimer before they even put their email in. And I've also kept that disclaimer throughout the steps on the funnel.
Yeah. Well, let me share my screen here real quick, Elton. Something that Kevin put up here. Maybe this will give you an idea. This opt-in form, it says free PDF for you, get the awesome guide. And then in the next, bit of text is like, subscribe to the newsletter to do what? To receive regular updates and tips about whatever the topic is, and get instant access to the free PDF. So on this opt-in form here, in very few words, is saying, hey, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get regular updates and tips, and then get instant access to the free PDF. And then down at the bottom, you can see where they have the link for the terms and privacy right there. Okay. So that was one of the opt-in forms that Kevin put up there. And this here, subscribe to get the awesome guide, get our topic newsletter, and get instant access to the free PDF. And then he has some other stuff. And he's talking about this checkbox thing on your opt-in forms, which may not be necessary. And you see this opt-in form here. And what he's talking about with this is like, hey, let's not give them too much to do, to try to prove that we're staying in compliance. I agree to receiving the weekly newsletter. And you see in the top portion here is, tell us where to send your PDF with great tips. I agree to receiving the weekly newsletter. But it didn't say anything about a newsletter here. It just says something about getting a PDF.
Right.
Okay. Now you're saying, agreeing to receive the weekly newsletter. That was never mentioned before. Never mentioned. And then all of this stuff right here, because people have, the reason Kevin put this here is because people have been interpreting this regulation, believing that you have to provide all these check boxes now to stay in compliance. But who's going to go through and do all this, check all this stuff off?
Right. Most people are not.
No.
They're not.
They're not going to do it. So now you're going to see your conversion rate go down if you have so much for them to do. I agree to receive the newsletter. I want to receive occasional promotional content, and on and on and on it goes. Check, 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 check. And then if you make them required fields, it's like you're really shooting yourself in the foot. But down here, it gets right to it.
Right. I like that one. It's simple. It's clean and simple, actually, and it covers everything on there.
Yep. When you subscribe, look at the wording here, subscribe to our newsletter to receive. So when you subscribe, what are you going to get? You're going to get regular updates in that newsletter. You're going to get tips about whatever the topic is, and you'll get instant access to the free PDF. So they know right up front what they're going.
Can I just point out something, because it's important to say this, otherwise, in this kind of a framework, which is how I would also do everything at the moment, okay, to comply. Try to, if you're not sure how many emails you're going to send out or what you're going to do exactly, try to stay away from saying every week and something like that. Exactly how it's written in regular updates means I can send 1 email a day. Maybe I can send 10 emails or tips a day. It doesn't really matter.
Yep.
They are complying to it. Okay, so it's a tip, because sometimes we want to say, okay, you'll receive 2 emails, one email per day. You don't even need to say that. It's unnecessary. Even though you're going to do it, but it's unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yep, it is. And I like how it's like how it is already written. Regular can mean whatever it means. So if you happen to send 4 instead of 5 a week, okay, that's okay. That's still regular. You know. So yeah, no, I like that one.
Yeah. It's short, sweet, to the point about what's going to be going on from you to the person that actually subscribed. And then again, in your emails that go out, if you're not using some type of disclaimer, by all means, go ahead and do so. Start using those disclaimers, like right here on this email right here. Disclaimer and subscription info. If you ever want to stop receiving emails from me and lose out on all my updates and other information I share, you can simply click the link below. There it is, unsubscribe right there. So however you want to frame that, but that's just there to help you and to help your customer at the same time. So makes sense, guys? So it's really, you know, as I was reading about this, and you know, a lot of people were like really getting way out in front, you know, way out ahead of this, in the fashion of, oh wow, man, if I don't do this, I'm going to be in serious trouble. You know, I have to get this taken care of, like right now. No, take your time. I mean, we have another week. If you haven't done anything, we have another week. May 25th is the drop dead date on this. So, is that still in the chat? Yeah, in the chat box,
Yep.
Elton, and I believe David, I put a link in there.
I'll do it again, because if he wasn't here while you posted it, he won't see it. So I'll copy it again and post it for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we leave the Zoom meeting, how do we get back to that link?
Click on it now, and it'll come up in your tabs.
Yeah.
It'll come right up.
If you want to. And what that does, Jay, is it walks you through, you know, what needs to be done, how to configure everything and set everything up. So.
Okay, I just did that, and guess what? It came up right in my tabs.
Oh,
you are so smart. Really? That's amazing.
He came, he saw, he conquered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, this is good. This is really good information, and I'm really glad that this was addressed, because this is timely, and it's something that we need to get done.
Yeah.
It's all good though.
Yeah.
Doesn't this kind of magnify how, as far as the way you're going to do things, how quickly people need to respond to you? Because if they don't respond to you, then they're going to, you know what I mean? You're going to have to just get rid of them. You know, it's just, you know, that as far as my standpoint, you know, so when somebody does subscribe, they should be ready to give me an answer. That's the way I always look at things, absolutely. You know. And I don't care. I mean, these days I'm like, I'd rather have a no than you just, I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
Give me the no, please.
It really is going to help filter out the people that really shouldn't be getting the information anyways, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then the other thing that I, you know, recently read towards the end of last year was that people are needing statistically, it was according to this landing page, can't remember his name, but up to 30 emails to be enticed, so to speak, just to start a business. And I totally agree with what the guy's saying, because it happened just recently. Some guy, I don't know how long he's been on my list, decides to jump on board and run with it, so but at the same time, I don't know how much I want to wait anymore. So
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody make that decision quickly.
But you never know where they're at and what they're going through at that time. Like, I've had people join me after a year. They've been on my list and I never knew that they were on my list. And then after a year, they're like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm like, who are you? I'm sorry. You've been on my, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't say it like that, but it's like, they finally reach out and say, oh, I've been reading your email since, November, and there you are. And guess what? They're ready then. Doesn't mean that, they're never going to be ready. It just means that they just, wherever they are in their life, they're not ready to make that decision yet. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I was reading something in a Facebook group just this morning where this person came in and, hey, I'm looking for a work at home opportunity. And everyone that I've talked to is a scammer. You know what my reply back to that person was, or my question is like, by what measurement do you determine that someone that you're speaking to that you don't know is a scammer?
Mm-hmm.
That is such a broad stroke of the brush. Okay. I believe that this regulation and you implementing that regulation can alleviate some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because a person that's out there to scam, they're not going to go through the trouble of doing all of this and setting their stuff up to be in compliance. Agree or disagree? Am I wrong in that thinking?
Yeah. And another thing, people will also think if it is a web page to a kind of business opportunity, and that page do not have this thing set up, okay, you avoid it, because from now, if a business kind of site do not, whatever it is, a company don't have a pop-up or something to inform about this, well, they are not on the serious side of the rules.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Basically.
So will that person who doesn't comply and set up his emails accordingly, are they going to have some kind of task force that goes through all this stuff and says, hey, you're not doing this, we're going to shut you down?
No,
You know what I mean?
I don't think it's going to go that far. David can allude to this a little
No,
bit.
actually, I wanted to address this while Aslak was talking, because it's not about, we are all talking about this, right? We're having a discussion, an open forum, let's say, about it to make ourselves compliant because we're working with the business. But if you walk down the street, Jay, and you ask somebody, hey, or you ask someone what is GDPR, they'll look at you like you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
They'll try to put their own words to each initial, right?
Exactly. Because even though, okay, I'm working for a company here in Europe, so I know that it's a European regulation that every single business needs to have. But it's only because I'm working somewhere.
Right.
If I wasn't, so as an individual, so think of myself as an individual who goes to a website and puts in their information, I don't even know what GDPR is. So I don't know if they're compliant or no.
Right. Most people aren't going to know.
Exactly. It only occurs to me when I say, hey, I don't like these emails that I'm getting. This is spam. Then I'm going to search and then I'm going to find something. But if I don't get that, which is we don't want the people to get that, then I'm not interested in. So the regulation doesn't hurt us in any way. It's only if you really go out of your way to look, then you find out that there's this regulation and you can then enforce it with the person who has not complied. Otherwise, no one knows. So that's what I'm saying. We are speaking about it openly because we need to be up to date on these things.
Now-
But other than that, it's day-to-day life.
As far as I understand it, Jay, if a person does make a complaint, and most people, what they do is unsubscribe from your email list. They don't even complain. They may send you a nasty email, okay,
They might.
on their way out the door. But for them to make a complaint, no, you don't see that a whole lot. Okay, but let's just say that someone did make a complaint. Okay, and what's going to happen? At worst, somebody from the
Germany
commission's gonna get in contact with you, and and make mention of it, and they may go look at your website. Well, he's in compliance. What was the complaint? You may not even hear anything. But no, there's not going to be some task force. And then one day, you wake up, and because of these flashing lights you see outside of your bedroom window, and it's the GDPR task force coming to get you. No, it's not that serious as far as I understand. It's not that serious. But if someone does make a complaint and you do get a notification and you don't do anything to get in compliance, then yeah, that can escalate into areas that you probably don't want to go.
Yeah, and guys, you have all barriers before that, as like what systems we're using. The fact that we have a autoresponder, these are the companies that need, because they are collecting a lot of data.
A lot of data.
These are the companies that need to get in compliance, and we as individuals, we have these automatic filters.
Yep.
Well, so you have your marketing system, which is a filter, which has the privacy policy already there.
Yep.
Then you have your autoresponder. So even if somebody complains to you, at the most, Aweber will say, "Hey, you can't use us anymore." Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like David said earlier. Hey, and then I showed you where Kevin said that, or spoke to where Kevin. Hey, go reframe your offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go reframe your offer, and you're good. But I know that you can go out terms and conditions. Heck, you can go out on the internet and pull down terms and conditions and rewrite them, privacy policies, and then rewrite them, and make a web page and just have a link, to that web page. You don't have to worry about going through and writing the whole thing out, from scratch yourself. Just going in, it's a matter of editing all the stuff. You can go and download terms and conditions and privacy policies yourself. Been able to do that for years now. But any other questions on this? I know this is a topic that I really hadn't planned on talking about today because we were going to talk about training. I guess this is training of sorts, but this particular topic, I really wanted to get it out there. Okay, so that to inform you guys, here's what's out there on the table that has to be addressed. Okay, so I really want you to do that. I'm glad David came on, because he's got a month of this under his belt. Okay, so thanks for your input on that, Mr. Pinto. Very, very good. Jay, your questions on it.
I always have questions about something. I'm the new guy on the block. It's like I hear you guys talking. It's like, I need to ask that, and then I get ready to ask something, and then David gives me the answer, or Eltonor has already commented on it. So then I click myself off. Don't worry about it.
That's good.
But most of the time, I'm the one who's doing all the talking, and then after the session is over, I think to myself, "Oh, I should have asked this, or I should have asked that." So,
you could always ask that in the group, though. I mean, there's always time to do that. So
yeah. But I just wanted to get this out there and out of the way.
Yeah.
One last point though is that I since doing this thing, you know, I did affiliate market for a while back, but everything that comes out, whether it's a algorithm or a regulation, is really pointing us to have authentic relationships, you know, and allowing us to be, you know, straightforward with people more and more. And unfortunately, the bad apples out there cause these regulations to come out. But really, if you're someone that's been, you know, upfront and authentic, I believe that you are probably within the regulation already.
You're miles ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, again, we really want, you know, authentic relationships or healthy relationships, whatever you want to, you know, call it. And that's what, you know, we're desiring when we're on the internet, which makes it very difficult to have that type of relationships. So I'm always optimistic when something comes out. You know, I hope that, you know, who's ever watching this video isn't negative about, oh gosh, another regulation or whatever, and get caught up on that, and really just think about, hey, it's actually going to make you a better business person, basically.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't look at it as a negative. Look at it as a positive, something that enhances your business and the way you do business with people. Yep.
One thing also, I just went in my head here now, solo ad sellers, they will be having to inform that they will sell the email to another person, to third party.
Yeah.
That will make the quality of the emails you buy better.
I agree.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about. Good point there, Oswald.
Yeah, I like that. Good point. I mean, honestly, you're less likely. Well, I mean, there's always going to be those people with the bots, but you're less likely to get the trash, you know, with this.
Yeah.
You know, again, I think in a good way, this takes out the trash. The trash is going to take itself out now, you know,
really
for the
does.
most part. So
it really does help to qualify your traffic a whole lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it really does. But you know, Jay, this is why we get together every Saturday. Never know what useful tidbit of information that can be picked up. You know?
And you know, I'm going to say this again. I've said it every week that I've been on, but this group is phenomenal. I mean, I have never associated myself with a group like. When I can't get on this call, I'm bummed for the rest of the day.
there's always a recording.
I know, I know. You watch the recording, but it's not the same as being on the call. You know, because you can interject, and and even though we don't have that many people here, it seems like we're always getting one or two more every time we have it when it's posted on, you know, the 311 site. But I'm telling you, man, I would have been done with internet marketing months ago if it wasn't for, first of all, Renee getting hooked up with her and her using the hot prod and poking in my rear end and saying, get going, and then meeting everybody here. It just makes it so much nicer that if I have a question, I don't feel like, oh, I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know, you know, who can I ask? But now I know. I can ask you guys.
That's what you just said is the exact reason that we started doing this over a year ago. The exact reason. Because so many people were being left on the roadside, you know, and looking up, and there's no signs out there guiding them, you know, to the next destination. It was like being out in the wilderness for a lot of folks. You know, don't know which way is north, south, east, or west, you know, when it comes to running their business. That's why Renee shared that vision with us back in March of last year. And we, you know, we took the bull by the horns and said, hey, let's go ahead and do it. Because people out there are in need of assistance in so many different areas.
And it's funny what you mentioned, Jay Scott, about, you know, there's not many people on here. There are, but there aren't, because when I look at the views, in the replay, there's at least 20 to 30 more views. So I know that people are watching. They might not be watching live, but they're watching it after the fact because, you know, they might not have Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern available, but the value is there. So I'm always getting more views, at least on mine, because I, you know, when I post it out there, you know, people are watching because they see that what we share is what they need.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, as I've always said, and I'll say it again here, I look forward to Saturday afternoons. Look forward to it. You know, to get with you guys and share across the board, and you know, listen to you guys. You know, answer those questions if we can. Like I said, I am so glad in relation to this topic that David was here on this, because he has some experience with this already. So him being here, it's like, man, that was like, you know, an extra added special
extra
bonus. Yeah.
Come back every week.
Yeah, I mean, I received an email today from Renee, you know, saying how a speed of implementing. I think we have, even if we haven't spoken about that, it is that, because we're implementing this for the new regulation. So it's in and itself a training, and I'm really happy to be here. In fact, I put it now as a part of my weekly schedule, and I have to send an email out tomorrow. And if I have to send an email out tomorrow, this is a valuable email to send.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing just a few minutes ago. Very valuable to get out to folks and frame it in such a way when you send it out. It's like, this is really important for you to know about. It's really important. It's important to you and your business to know about this, because again, it goes back to, hey, how about tier 1 traffic? How about T1 traffic? T1 traffic includes Europe. Okay, which means I'll be doing business in Europe,
And
which means I have to be in compliance.
And there's many, for example, then solo ad sellers and advertising companies who are based in Europe, so they have to use this even if they're
That's right.
outside Europe.
Yep.
Yeah. So it just makes sense, makes so much sense for us to have talked about this. And, you know, it makes even more to understand that the implementation of it for us is of high importance. Yeah. This is not something that is a luxury for us to do. This is something that is a necessity. It's a necessity, because each one of us will be doing business in Europe. Guaranteed. Not unless you're buying crap traffic that doesn't include T1. and who's doing that? None of us are. Yeah. All right. So that's it for today. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for allowing us to talk about this particular issue. And again, thanks, David, for being here and sharing with us also.
Anytime.
Yeah. Next week, let's see if we can get into some training.
Okay. Sounds good.
Unless something else comes down the road.
You know what? We can roll with it. That's the cool thing about it. We'll just roll with it. If something comes up, that's okay. We just do it another time.
Yeah. Okay. So have a great Saturday. And then, as usual, have a good week and a productive week also. And we'll see you guys back here again next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.